101.9 Higher Density Organizations. Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Experience of One. This is an awareness expanding course that should be absorbed in order. Like a university course, this course's information builds upon itself, so you would be doing yourself a disservice if you took it in out of order. If you do not watch it in order, you might not comprehend the material, or worse, you will think you fully understood it and walk away with a skewed interpretation. Do yourself a favor and first view 101.1, 101.2, 101.3, and 101.4, which are all in one video that starts with an introduction to this course. Then continue on in viewing the subjects in order. The introduction to this course needs to be taken in first in order to know the nature of this awareness expanding course. Think of this course as a book where you will not understand it fully if you do not read the chapters in order. Chapter 1 being the introduction that is imperative to take in first. So please click on the link in the description section under this video to view the first video. We will cover the higher density organizations and affiliations of the positive and negative paths and their influences upon third density. If a being graduates to fourth density negative, they join the word shown on screen, which is the name this group has been called on Earth due to human beings labeling and applying names to what they call constellations. So we will refer to this group as such. Since those at the top of this power and control structure reside in what has been labeled the Orion constellation on Earth, the empire is named after these top players. But their empire contains negative beings from anywhere in the universe. The same negative group exists in the infinite universes within the cosmos, but goes by different names. Some according to where the negative top players originate that is not within the Orion constellation. The word shown on screen consists of a very small amount of negatively oriented third density beings who have chosen to make a deal with fourth density negative beings or technologically advanced negatively oriented later third subdensity beings who are part of the word shown on screen. The word shown on screen is mostly made up of fourth density negatives. A very small amount of fifth density negatives are in the word shown on screen, and they are the top players of the empire's power structure. Negative inner planes beings, third to fifth density, are also in or assist the word shown on screen. Fifth density negatives order, manipulate, and teach later fourth subdensity negatives the ways of love for self and understanding oneself in regards to wisdom and the ways of utilizing light energy. In turn, the fourth density negatives order and manipulate the very few third density negatively oriented underlings they have acquired and attempt to influence all third density beings more indirectly with telepathic temptations, attempting to teach their doctrine of service to self via telepathy, where their receiver does not differentiate their thoughts from the negatives, or direct communication to those with very similar dispositions who have called and invited them. Fourth density negatives, by order from their fifth density negative masters, also attempt to manipulate positively oriented third density beings via telepathy and other means who are threatening negative polarity by attempting to aid or being too effective at service to others' actions that have the potential to produce much positive polarization in a third density civilization or planet. Fifth density negatives look at the cosmos as something that needs to be specifically organized and ordered under the power and control structure of service to self. They feel they are doing all in the cosmos' service in doing this because they perceive themselves to be at the top of superiority and the wisest beings, and therefore the most suited in making decisions and ordering others in the universe. This is similar to how human beings who are so-called royals conduct themselves on Earth. A large portion of fifth density negatives, especially middle to later fifth subdensity negatives, no longer see much benefit for themselves in remaining in the words shown on screen and work individually toward advancement and graduation to sixth density. Since they are service to self beings, they do what they consider to be the most efficient way for themselves to advance, which is not working with others. Sixth density negatives are thrown into confusion when they enter the sixth density and find it very difficult to advance, confronting obstacles they have not experienced before. Before they become too confounded, they teach and manipulate later fifth subdensity negatives only because it adds to their negative polarity. Even while sixth density negatives are teaching later fifth subdensity negative beings, they are not part of the words shown on screen because they do not see any benefit in working within a group any longer for their advancement. Somewhere up to the middle six subdensities, they switch to the positive path because it is the only path forward, and they become fully aware of the negative path's folly. Since sixth density negative beings do not work with others until they switch to positive polarity, the very few fifth density negative beings who still work within the power structure are at the top in the words shown on screen. Fourth density negatives' power in their united groups is diminished by their constant power struggles with each other, as the service to self being never passes up an opportunity to advance in the ranks, always practicing self over unity. This spiritual entropy causes much disintegration and lessens the amount of power wielded by the words shown on screen. Unity is always stronger than separation. Due to this constant disintegration, the words shown on screen numbers stay approximately at only 10% of that of the positive organization's numbers. This may appear to be an unfair balance for the service to self negative polarity path in regards to gameplay, but the cosmic experience is balanced out by the negative beings performing forceful and manipulative actions that the positive beings do not. Negative beings disregard beings' free will every chance they get as long as it does not jeopardize the strengthening of their negative polarity, whereas positive beings attempt to honor beings' free will as much as possible. The ways of one and the cosmic game board rules are what keeps all of the players, including the negative beings, in check. Every being, positive and negative, serves Source in their own way. That service is measured with polarity. Polarity could be seen as a type of point system where one can only advance on the multi-layered game board, the cosmos, toward the finish line, merging back with Source, by collecting points, gaining positive or negative polarity. Therefore, players' actions are rewarded by staying in check and following the set rules, not wanting to be penalized and losing points if they break the rules of gameplay. So they perform actions to gain more points and avoid actions that take away points. As with any rules set up for a game, the rules ensure the game is played fairly so it can be enjoyed and provide learning experiences for all players. The negative being's desire to gain or not lose polarity is the only reason why they honor free will at certain times. If an action does not lose polarity by infringing upon free will, they always abridge free will. If a certain action of breaking free will would result in a loss of polarity, negative beings typically do not do it because they want to move forward on the game board, which is synonymous with gaining power. Being controlling is always negative, but power is not negative or positive. Power is not a negative thing, it is a tool, and like any other tool can be used to perform positively or negatively polarized actions. If positives deemed power a bad thing and did not use it, they would be instantly crushed by the negatives. The polarity or point system is why fourth density negative united groups do not simply take over by direct brute force an entire third density planet. This type of action that infringes upon free will is against the cosmic rules, and so would result in much loss of polarity for the fourth density negative beings. The very few third density negatively oriented beings in the word shown on screen are ordered to do their fourth density master's bidding against other third density beings, so the fourth density negative beings do not lose polarity by doing it directly. The set cosmic game rules are followed so polarity / points can be acquired. When a negatively oriented third density being gravitating toward fourth density negative graduation abridges another third density being's free will, there is no loss of negative polarity because they reside in the same density. Instead, they gain negative polarity, and if the manipulated being or beings willingly give up their free will by being deceived, the manipulators gain even more negative polarity. This latter situation is the case on Earth, since a large portion of the majority of Earthlings have been deceived and have willingly given up their free will under the engineered controlled system that directs the societies on Earth. The highly negatively oriented human beings have gained much negative polarity. They would lose this negative polarity if the majority of human beings realized their folly and stopped willingly giving away their free will. If a positively oriented third density being does a negative action, they lose positive polarity due to the gain of negative polarity for having done the negatively polarizing action. Similarly, a negatively oriented being would lose negative polarity if they performed a positive action, which would only benefit them if they have decided to switch polarities. It is never too late in third density to switch polarities before making the final choice to graduate to fourth density positive or negative. Here is an example of negative beings taking over a planet directly without losing polarity. Fourth density beings are already aware of this, so we are not assisting fourth density negatives by sharing this example. If a fourth density negative united group directly conquered a third density planet and managed to make the third density beings hand over their free will willingly, then the loss of polarity from the initial abridging of free will would be recovered. It is a gamble that fourth density negative united groups typically do not take because most of third density planets do not willingly relinquish their free will and assimilate into the power and control structure of the word shown on screen. Transitioning / dying or being forced into slavery is not considered willingly relinquishing one's free will. The rare occasions where fourth density negatives did make this gamble was due to them knowing there was a very high probability that the third density planet's beings would willingly give up their free will. Therefore, it was not considered a gamble because the dealer was almost assured victory. Instead, fourth density negative united groups choose to gain polarity as they clandestinely and indirectly conquer a third density planet by manipulating negatively oriented third density beings on the planet to do it for them, which also increases the possibilities for the negatively oriented third density beings to fully join and strengthen the negative power structure by graduating to fourth density negative. Enormous advances have been made by the negatives on planet Earth in the last several decades. This information may be shocking to human beings who do not know how the cosmos functions, but that is simply the game board role of fourth density negatives who are ordered by fifth density negatives. It is what they attempt to do to every third density planet and is not personal. It is simply how the negative players function on the game board. Giving into fear or anger in the case of such a matter only strips one of their power that could be used to avoid or solve any matter. Being fearful or angry offers no benefits, only disadvantages. Anger may galvanize a being to do something rather than continuing to do nothing, but until anger is relinquished, the being will not have access to their higher mental faculties that are required to get the job done properly due to anger creating blockages in the red ray chakra. The majority of a third density planet may disbelieve the reality we have provided, as is their free will to do so, but one who willingly wears a blindfold over their eyes is a very easy target for an attacker they wish to not believe in. Whether the fourth density negatives' attempts are fruitful or not is the question. The current state of planet Earth clearly shows that their temptations and deceptions have bore fruit. If human beings continue to follow the negatives' programming that states there are no highly negatively oriented third density human beings who are entirely devoid of morality and who are attempting to clandestinely conquer the planet by any means necessary, then the negatives' probabilities of success are greatly increased, as human beings do not attempt to stop that which they do not believe exists. This is why the highly negatively oriented human beings implement strong and numerous programming methods to keep the majority disbelieving that they exist, or that there is a rather small minority who control a weighty portion of the planet and are actively conspiring to control the entire planet. It is not a theory that they are conspiring, as that is what they are doing. The majority of human beings are aware of the many corrupt beings and groups that are powerful on their planet, and they often witness how the corrupt rise in the power structure and typically get away with high crimes. So why do the majority of human beings disbelieve there is a highly negatively oriented group of human beings who are attempting to take control of as much of the planet as possible when all signs of activity point to such a conclusion? It is because of their programming and the social conditioning that is shaped by the programming. We understand that making these highly nefarious actions known may cause great anger and or fear, so we inform you that anger and fear are the two leading causes of cancer. It would not serve one to add additional emotional poison to themselves on top of the poisons they have unknowingly been putting into their body via foodstuffs and everyday products, effectively assisting the negatively oriented human beings further in their aims of poisoning and weakening the majority, which allows easier manipulation and control. Instead of producing anger or fear, which does nothing to solve the issue and only makes it worse, take positive action to solve the problem. We will expand upon this in a later subject. Fourth and fifth density negative manipulate, deceive, teach, and order the very, very few third density beings on Earth who have either shown great intentions towards service to self actions, which is an unconscious negative calling, or who have consciously invited the negatives via certain actions or so-called magical rituals. Other third density beings are unknowingly used as tools via telepathic temptation and manipulation to fulfill the negative's plans. The negative's tried and true method of tempting the few negatively oriented third density beings into believing they are superior and enslaving the majority is a prime tactic in the negative's playbook. The group known as the Nazis were a public example of a tempted quote-unquote elite few. The so-called elite factions that are composed of a very few human beings that came before the Nazis and hold much more power on planet Earth currently are not all public figures, as the top players know not being public serves them well. Clever top players use trusted tools / puppets they can control to appear as if they are the top players so the real top players can stay hidden. As long as their puppets play by their rules, they can keep enjoying financial wealth, controlling power, and/or fame, which are prominent temptations on planet Earth and on most planets that develop a monetary system. These clever negatively oriented human beings have learned from their chosen fourth density negative masters, who are literally able to be invisible. That staying hidden and invisible means protection from being dethroned and losing control. A saying known on Earth conveys this clever method. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. The religious term devil can be replaced with either highly negatively oriented third density human beings or with fourth density negatives. The controlling service to self hierarchy structure of a third density planet mimics the structure of a fourth density negative planet and the words shown on screen itself. Planetary domination by utilizing the planet's own beings is the method and goal of the fourth density negatives in regards to third density planets. The greatest victory for the word shown on screen is to add another planet to its power and control structure. If they can cause enough separation and service to self actions on a third density planet in order to get more negative graduates than positive graduates at the end of a grand cycle, the third density core planet begins its transition into a fourth density core negative planet and joins the word shown on screen after harvest time. If this occurs, the third density beings who graduated toward fourth density negative reincarnate on the same planet, and the fewer, if any, third density beings who graduated toward the positive would incarnate on a different fourth density positive planet. The third density beings who did not polarize enough toward negative or positive to graduate would incarnate on a different planet that offers them a continuation of the third density experience. There they can continue their third density experience until they have polarized enough to graduate at the end of a major cycle or another grand cycle. The negative's planetary domination on Earth was not secured through public military might with the Nazis and the many that came before them, so planetary domination plans were altered to proceed clandestinely. utilizing the very, very few highly negatively oriented third density human beings to act as their tools and using their controlling powers to create or shape existing organizations, corporations, and nations via governmental positions. On planet Earth, a large portion of these functioning bodies have already been clandestinely taken over or established from the start by negatively oriented human beings. These structures work against humanity instead of for humanity, showing the planet a fake positive face while the real negative face works behind the scenes. The United States of America nation is their prime target because of its position on the planet. Infiltrate and topple from within the biggest domino, and it has a good chance at knocking down the rest of the dominoes. Although a comprehensive military plan does not focus solely on the prime target, the most effective and calculated move is to infiltrate as many nations as possible, striking them all at once, shaping the planet while concentrating the largest efforts on the biggest players. Rights and freedoms of the planetary majority are slowly or quickly stripped away in the guise of whatever is the most effective means for the given planet. On Earth, which is also the case on most third density core planets, the guise is protection, cultural progression, health safety, and technological advancement. With influence and/or direct orders from higher density negatives, negatively oriented third density beings create and inspire as much separation and confusion as possible, some of which are transient diversions that aid their cause. Others are major agendas that have the most likelihood of fulfilling their planetary domination. Do you notice your rights and freedoms being taken away? Rights and freedoms your grandparents still possessed? Do you notice the diversions? Do you notice the increasing divisions and intensifying fighting? Do you notice the programming and how it is shaping social conditioning? Are you aware of the major agendas? All these tactical cards have already been shown on planet Earth and noticed by those who are observant. These tactics have majorly increased since approximately 2020 CE, with the conclusion of planet Earth's grand cycle being just around the corner. Part of the programming that shapes social conditioning is used to make the majority disbelieve and mock the observant, free-thinking human beings who point out the reality we speak of. Since there is too much evidence to support the reality expressed by the observant human beings, the programming that shapes social conditioning is used to turn off the open-mindedness of the majority so they do not even bother to look at or consider the evidence that is right in front of their faces on a daily basis. The positive path organizations and affiliations consist of third to sixth density beings, as well as beings who have already merged back with Source and chose to take on an overseeing or caretaking role in this cosmos while being in the seventh density inner planes. Positive beings may work in the confederations of planets, which alleviates sorrow and aids all solar systems. The local confederation of planets aids and cares for 7 solar systems, which includes the solar system Earth resides in. 3rd to 7th density beings make up each confederation of planets. Positive beings from the inner planes are also in or assist the confederations of planets. The 3rd density beings in the confederations of planets are wanderers and walk-ins, so their true densities are later 4th subdensity to later 6th subdensity. Besides these beings, a confederation of planets truly consists of 4th to 7th density beings. One density assisting and teaching the one below it right down to 4th density positives, who aid 3rd density beings who mentally project positive intentions into the ether and mentally ask for assistance. We have already covered how they influence each other down to 3rd density and their way of unity in love and light. It is a clear message offered without deception, so unlike unveiling the negative's deceptions, there is no lengthy description needed to convey the positive's loving agendas, which have already been covered and will continue to be covered along with more exposing of the negative's tactics in later subjects. The local confederation of planets' face-to-face encounters and major influential occurrences with 3rd density human beings on Earth will be covered in later subjects. The highest position that guides and governs the confederations of planets, and are technically part of it as well since they are also of positive polarity, are council positions. The council positions consist of beings who have already experienced this cosmos and merged back with Source, and then chose to take on an overseer and caretaker role in this cosmos instead of directly moving on to the next cosmos. Council position beings' true density is that of oneness with Source, and they wander back into the illusion to the 7th density inner planes to perform overseer and caretaker roles. 7th density inner plane beings have the largest viewpoint of any beings in the cosmos. There is a council for every solar system and every galaxy. Each council position consists of 9 beings who eventually move on to other experiences and are replaced by similar beings so that the 9 positions are filled and always on duty. The only exception is when there is 8 or 10 council positions filled during transitional times. The second highest position in the confederations of planets is held by the guardians who back up and assist the council members. Guardian positions are filled by later 6th subdensity outer planes beings from united groups. There are 24 rotating guardian positions who assist each council. One of the ways guardians care for a solar system is to partially protect the beings on 3rd density planets from 4th and 5th density negatives and technologically advanced 3rd density beings from different planets acting in service to self by way of planetary manipulation and conquest. We say the guardians partially protect instead of fully protect because there are ways the negatives can slip onto a planet undetected, and when the negatives are called and invited by negatively oriented or confused 3rd density beings from a planet, the positives must allow the invitation to occur in order to not infringe upon free will. The councils oversee the admission of beings into each confederation of planets. If a mass calling is adequate in percentages from a 3rd density civilization, the local confederation of planets is able to assist in some manner pertaining to the specific conditions of each mass calling. Telepathically, where the receivers think it is their own thoughts and ideas, sending love and light energy, offering dream visions, working through those who channel information, and direct contact are the main methods. For a later 6 subdensity united group's aid to be direct face-to-face contact, they have to bring their case before the local council, which either approves or declines the request. If the united group is not sure how to assist the mass calling, the local council gives advice on the matter according to the specifics of each case. If the request is approved, the later 6 subdensity united group may send one or some of its beings to aid a civilization in the manner they believe to be the most effective without infringing upon the free will of the 3rd density beings they are assisting. Pertaining to a mass calling, when we say calling, we do not mean verbal communication. We mean a sincere mental intention that asks for assistance. The calling needs to be in mass, an adequate percentage of positive seekers, from a specific civilization over a period of time. The mass calling does not need to be done all at once. If these requirements are met, all forms of aid we listed may be given except for direct face-to-face contact. For direct contact to occur, all these requirements must be met, and the civilization needs to have an adequate amount of beings whose belief systems, you may call this religions or way of life, is adequately unified and not of a hostile nature. Since there is no more isolation of civilizations on Earth due to the population growth and technological advancement, the present requirements would need to be met by the entire planet instead of by one civilization. Due to the major diversity of religions or ways of life on planet Earth, such unity needed would not be met unless a major planetary issue arose to invoke unity. This is not to say that such unity under benevolent leadership or direction is impossible on Earth, but the possibilities /timelines are improbable. It appears a major planetary occurrence would need to transpire for Earthlings to set aside their divisions and trivialities and unite under one cause. Even though such an event is improbable in Earth's possibilities /timelines, there is always a slim chance it could transpire. Given the current state on planet Earth, some human beings feel there are more leaning towards service to self than service to others on Earth, and that more would graduate toward the negative, but this is not the reality. The majority of beings, who are mostly leaning toward positive polarity, have allowed the self-serving few to rise to the top of the power and control structure, as they always hunger to do. From such top positions, these negatively oriented beings have disseminated their self-serving mentality and ways like a contagious disease released upon the majority of the population. There have been substantially more human beings during Earth's grand cycle who have graduated to 4th density positive than 4th density negative. All possibilities /timelines show a higher percentage of graduates to 4th density positive instead of negative at the end of Earth's grand cycle. Therefore, Earth is already locked in to become a 4th density core positive planet. Human beings who have and will graduate to 4th density positive will reincarnate back onto Earth in 4th density physical bodies, also known as astral bodies. The few who have and will graduate to 4th density negative have or will incarnate onto a 4th density negative planet in a different solar system. The majority of human beings, not having polarized enough in either direction, will incarnate onto a different planet in a different solar system that offers 3rd density lessons so they can continue their 3rd density experience until they make the choice to graduate in either direction. Planet Earth is locked in to become a 4th density core positive planet, but the possibilities /timelines for how long the transition takes and how smoothly planet Earth transitions into a 4th density core positive planet is still up to 3rd density human beings to decide. This course is presented in video format for free to overcome book shadow banning and make its existence known. Now that you know it exists, it's recommended to proceed how this course is intended to be absorbed by book. The title of the book is The Cosmic Experience of One, an awareness expanding course for human beings. The information in this course is more effective and appropriate to be read in book form, where one can pause and ruminate and meditate on the material as they read. Besides the low audio quality in the videos and the protection from targeted spoken words and censorship, the book is a much better way to understand and learn the material. The book contains two more subjects, 104.2 and 104.3, which is my way of thanking those who show their appreciation to my aiding services by purchasing the book. Since we currently live in a broken monetary system, without your show of monetary appreciation for my services, I can't get by and continue to perform service to others acts by writing more meaningful books. Purchasing the book not only shows your appreciation for my services and allows me to live in this monetary system, but the course's material will be easily accessible for your revisiting. To more fully absorb the material, it's recommended to read the book at least twice. You will understand why on your second reading. You can gain positive polarity by doing your part in sharing this awareness expanding course with others. Raising the collective's vibration is a team effort. We cannot do this alone. Your participation is required. Liking and subscribing are also actions that make this course seen by more human beings. A negatively oriented being learns information and keeps it to themselves so they can selfishly benefit over others. A positively oriented being learns information and wants others to benefit from it as well because they care, and they know that aiding others also aids themselves. This is true in more ways than one, as a being gains positive polarity for aiding others, and they benefit again when another's vibration is raised because it raises the whole collective's vibration, which assists all, including the first being who shared. All are connected, all are one. Comments and questions will be read, but I will not reply with comments, nor like comments, nor heart comments, nor interact in the comments section in any way. If comments or questions are found to warrant a reply, the reply will be made in a possible future video. If an account using the same or similar profile picture, channel name, or my author name interacts in any of the ways listed above or other ways, know that it's not me and is a human tool working for the negatively oriented human beings to capture and twist the information in this course or your perception, or smear the messenger. Likewise, human tools may create fake accounts on this platform or others in the same attempt to capture and twist this course's information. Official sources from me are listed in the description field below. Everything else is fake.